This episode of Kapow is brought to you by Joey Statham at Copperleaf Properties. Joey is a lifetime multi-million-dollar producer. If you want an agent you can really trust, one that will really listen to you, you need an agent that knows how to effectively market and sell your home, give Joey Statham a call at 256-494-7544. That again, 256-494-7544. Joey Statham at Copperleaf Properties. Also brought to you today by Mac Butler and Butler Electric. If you're looking for a competent, reliable, and a very professional outfit to handle your electrical services and needs, you need to give Butler Electrical Contractors a call today at 256-442-4255. Again, Butler Electrical Contractors, 256-442-4255. Hey guys, I'm your man Jeff Underwood, and always to my right and to your left, beauty don't lie, Jerry's in black today. What's up, buddy?
It's supposed to be slimming, but I don't think it is.
You're looking slim.
Man, I look like a black space shuttle. We're talking about a fun guest. We've been anticipating this for quite some time. We'll talk about your reputation. So I feel like I should be in detention right now. And I've been there. So she's going to put me in the black chair. Miss Yother, thank you so much for taking the time out of this rainy day to come be with us.
Oh, it is my pleasure.
You brought your fine china.
I did.
You're so
this is my coffee cup I take with me everywhere I go.
You're so primitive.
How do you find a cup holder to fit that in your big?
Well, if you fit it on the left side and turn the handle to the right, it fits in.
Sounds like she's done this.
You feel like you've been taught?
Yes, I have learned.
You see?
That is correct.
So
you're running for
I'm not running at all, as you can tell by this body. I don't run.
It's okay.
Disease or anything. We don't run enough.
It's okay. You probably do yoga.
I think I need to. No, yogurt. No, I'm sorry. I misunderstood what you were saying.
I recommend it. It helps you move better.
I need to move better. These joints ain't what they used to be. So you are deciding, you've got a long, distinguished career.
Yes.
Are you bored?
No.
Or you see a need?
No, I am not bored. I'm never bored because I don't like that situation. It doesn't fit my personality.
I can tell.
When I see a need, I just don't talk about it. I act on it. And I've seen a need for quite some time. And although it was scary to enter into this race because I am a novice, I felt led by the Lord to do it. And I jumped in and I'm doing it.
Mm-hmm.
I love the quote that you had said, and you're being interviewed by the political reporter, and I'm going to read it because I think it's awesome. Miss Yother, you say, "My passion has always been working with children. In doing so, I strive to create the best possible learning environment for my students to grow and become good citizens in their local communities. I look forward to bringing my experience and knowledge of public schools to the State Boards of Education. And if there's anything that needs to be taken to the State Board of Education, it's someone to school them." There's a lot of work to be done.
Oh, there is. Education in Alabama right now, not everywhere and not in every school, but in way too many is a struggle. We see that by where we rank. We see that when we talk to students all over Alabama. They should have a zest for learning. They should have an instilled feeling that learning is a lifetime behavior, and that is instilled in a young person very young. But a lot of them don't have it. I've found through this campaign and traveling the 8 counties that make it up, that some young people don't have any aspirations. And it's my belief that we as parents, we as educators, that's our job, is to influence children, young people, to make a contribution. And that's what they're preparing themselves for, is to make a contribution to their community, to society. It's unacceptable, in my opinion, to not be making a contribution.
Right.
your life, you're here for a purpose. And fulfilling that purpose, in my opinion, is where you find joy and where you thrive. And that has to begin at an early age. I don't think you can't make a big difference when you find that out at 50. You can make a big difference when you find that out at 9 and 10.
That's right. That's right.
So we need more teachers. First of all, we need to get teacher pay up. There's no question.
Do.
I mean,
Definitely.
And this isn't a political posturing, right? This isn't rhetoric. We need to pay our teachers and firemen and police and first responders, hands down. Whatever we need to do, we need to make that happen.
Right.
But teachers need to inspire their kids.
They do.
But they can't do it alone. Parents also have to take a step forward into education and to, instead of drop my kid off, it's daycare.
Right. Oh, I agree. That is definitely key to have the parent-school engagement.
Yep.
And that has to be sometimes an administrator, a principal, has to make that strong call and have those parents in and say, your child has wonderful capabilities, but you're not helping. We're doing it all, and they're not meeting their capabilities because you're not helping.
Right.
And many times that's not received well, but that's okay.
Yeah.
You have to do that. Many times, they might walk out of your office and hate you for a long time, but somewhere down the road, I've had them come back and say, you are exactly right. But it took me years to see that.
We always had in my life, it was the toughest teacher who I thought were picking on me, but was just pushing.
Right.
Ended up made such a difference in my life.
Right.
Miss Tinsley at Etowah High School. I don't know if you remember Miss Tinsley. She was incredible. Some coaches.
Right.
I was involved in a phone call. I overheard a phone call yesterday from a principal. I didn't tell you the story. From Glencoe, Miss Tinker, right? And
Oh, yes. I graduated from Glencoe
I know
High
that.
School. Yes.
You look very
and let
jackety.
I wish I could think of her, but I do know of who you're speaking.
Yeah, incredible lady of integrity. She
Yes.
was calling. I was in a room with a parent. She was calling of an issue at the school. Here's what happened. It was a hard conversation.
Yes.
But that parent was so taken back that she was real, but she was encouraging and there to help. How can I help this situation? We need more of that. We need
We
more
do.
of that.
We do. Definitely we do. Parents need to feel that we appreciate them and that they definitely are on our team. And I know that parents have struggles too. I had a diverse population at Euro Brown Elementary. I had parents that had a lot in wealth, but they were so busy in attaining and keeping that wealth that there was not a lot of time for the student.
Right.
And then on the other hand, I had those from single parent homes who mom or dad were working so much and they were staying with grandmother, and grandmother didn't have the strength left in her to give that child. So you have both situations, but it must be brought to their attention so that something can be changed. And if nothing changes, then the school has to act on that with greater resources pointed toward that student.
I get it.
Well,
Yeah.
your wife's an assistant principal. Did we say assistant principal, vice principal?
It's assistant now. It used to
Principal
be
square.
When we were in our school, it was vice principal.
Yeah, okay.
Right.
Now it's the AD.
Now it's
So-
assistant.
Yeah.
I know from hearing her stories of crying, frustration, that it's not easy doing what your wife does and doing what you did.
No.
It is not easy being heavy's the head that wears the crown, right?
Oh, love that phrase.
Yeah.
I will have to say it consumed my life. The 17 years that I was the principal at Euro Brown, it consumed my life. But I happened to be at a stage in my life where when I took over in 2001, that both of my children, I have a son and a daughter, were both self-sufficient. And my husband travels. So I pretty much can tell you I lived at the school.
Yeah.
I went every day. Every day. I worked most Saturdays. I worked after church on Sunday afternoons because it was my philosophy that what I could do for the teachers to take off of them gave them more time to give to the students.
Oh, wow. That's a novel idea.
Because as a teacher, I always kind of thought, here I am completing this, and I have to do it now when I want to be up at the board or with a child with a seat by their desk teaching them. So I think there's way too much paperwork. There's way too much documentation, but there is a need for that. So I can't say, that's a bad thing, but it could be reduced in some way. And I will say that I was in the classrooms during the day, but because of my home situation, I could stay till 8 o'clock at night and do the paperwork.
Yeah.
And I didn't mind it. But that's not realistic for an administrator who has little children at home.
Sure.
It's not realistic for most people.
Nor is it fair.
That's right. It was for me.
Yeah. Well, I think, and I'm going to let Jeff get into all the educational stuff, because that's he lives it. He lives with the administrator.
Yes,
but
sure.
the hard work you put in to this day, how Ura Brown is thought of. When anybody asks, hey, what's the best school?
Right.
Ura Brown, first, no disrespect.
Right.
Well, it should be disrespect to some of you other schools, and I'll name names.
Some of you, for sure.
It's Ura Brown than everyone else.
Yeah.
You're right.
Followed closely by Glencoe.
Yeah, you're right.
Such a sucker. Love it.
I'm saying.
You're not getting graded on this.
Hey,
It could be a pop quiz.
Shakira said the hips don't lie, but the numbers
you're right.
say Glencoe's
The numbers,
number 2.
right.
That's so
And
true.
that was something that I constantly did was look at the data.
Yeah.
And the data tells you everything. And I studied the data from every classroom, every year, from other schools. I was constantly comparing us to other schools. But I can't take credit for Ura Brown's reputation. I am part of it, but I came behind a tremendous woman named Charlotte Crossan. And she handpicked me to succeed her.
Wow.
And I was teaching 5th grade, and I'd never really thought about going into administration. And she started talking to me about it in anticipation of her retirement. And so during those couple of years, then God led me to say, it's okay, I'm in control, that I want you to do this. So I did, and I will have to say, I loved it.
Yeah.
I loved it because I got to have a relationship with over 400 children instead of 25 or 75 in that grade level. And I cared about each and every one. I knew their parents. I made it a point to develop a relationship with every child.
I think that's lacking in some areas
I
today.
think so. Well, it's hard work. I mean,
Sure.
you have to plan to go sit by a certain child in lunch and say,
Yeah.
can we just hang out? Can we talk for a little bit? Or you have to stay for after school and help with homework and get to know them better. There are so many ways to do it, but it takes a lot of time.
Charlotte Crossan, who is her husband?
Her husband is Bill
Crossan, yeah.
Yes.
Landstar, he owns a trucking company.
He does.
Dr. David Ryan's
Yes,
stepfather.
that's exactly right. And she was a master teacher.
Yes, I've heard great things.
And she was a master administrator also. And so I learned so very much from her. Yeah. And then when I left, another terrific administrator followed me by the name of Katie Holland. And I've learned from her. Every generation that follows has their own way of doing things. And I've been in the school because I go a lot, and I think, why didn't I think of that? They're just, they're really good organizers. They care for the children. And plus, too, let me say this about Euro Brown. I would say that 95% of Euro Brown parents are totally engaged in their children's
That's awesome.
education.
It makes a difference.
Oh, it makes a huge difference. Now they, they want to talk to you about everything, and I liked that. But it is quite time consuming. When you could ask the teacher instead of asking the principal.
Sure, and that's why you're there at 8 o'clock at night,
right? No, not always. Also, Euro Brown has, we talk about teacher pay raises, and we never mention the benefits, though, and I'd want to make this clear. I did not teach for the money. I was lucky enough that my husband had a good job, but it took him away from home. I raised a son and a daughter virtually Monday through Friday by myself because he was always in another state. So I was never worried about finances, but I will have to say, when I retired in 2017, and then at 62, I started my Social Security. I made more money than I've ever made in my life. I told my friends, I said, I can't believe this. I never thought about what I would draw from retirement.
Yeah.
And then you add that little bit of Social Security with it. And I said, let's go places.
That's awesome.
So I don't think
good.
that many educators look down the road and think about the benefits of the insurance are fabulous.
They are.
They really are. And let me say, when you get to that point where you've given all that you can give, and it's time to come out and let somebody younger take over, you are rewarded. You definitely are rewarded.
Isn't it something, though, that forward-looking?
Yes.
People like Jerry and I are very forward-looking when it comes, because we have a plan for retirement.
Right.
We know where we're moving. We know what we're doing.
Right.
Well, we have a plan.
God's
sovereignty.
That's right. God may step in there.
And our wives may as well.
Right.
Yeah, they may. Right. They may not.
Right.
But don't you think, and I know you do, but don't you think, and I want people out there to know, when a teacher is getting paid more, they don't have to worry about living always paycheck to paycheck to paycheck. They're going to come into that classroom with a better mindset, a lighter load, and they're able to, they know I'm getting paid what I'm worth, and I'm going to perform the way that my salary is reflective. And the truth is, in everything that we do, whether if you're a litigator and you're making great money, well, you work your tail off in order to make that great money. If you're no offense to public defenders, we have some good friends that are. They don't make a whole lot of money. It's thankless, it's tireless, and they don't work very hard. And they put in the time, what they're required, and they go home. But these teachers, they're putting in their own money for their own classrooms. I know that for a fact, and I know you know that. They're spending tons of money every year to get their classroom where it needs to be for their kids to come in. And I don't know how every school system works or every school works, but I know from experience where my wife has been, we've spent tons of money putting in her classroom. And I think that's something that parents don't know. They see, well, my kid's got in trouble, or my kid never has gotten in trouble, and they don't see what these teachers sacrifice to put into their classroom. And it's a big deal. And I know you're running for the students, but also to protect the educators. And definitely,
yes.
So is there a plan to go into Montgomery with the governor as the chairman of the board, to sit and say, look, we've got to do something about the teachers pay, yes, but the amount of money that we pour into each classroom so these teachers don't have to spend their money.
Right.
And it breaks my heart, because there's some teachers that are single moms or single dads, and they don't have the benefit of another income in that home, and they feel like they're overwhelmed, and they even come in, they feel like their classroom is underwhelming compared to their teacher next door that's teaching fifth grade or whatever.
Right.
Is there a plan to go in and say, okay, this is where I'm living, and I'm not
Yes,
budgeting?
there is a plan. Teachers have to have what they need in order to be the best teacher they can be.
Right.
I know that. Where the funding comes in is if you have a teacher that's been teaching 20 years and she's received $500 to $600 to buy instructional material every year for 20 years. She's got more than enough. What she's doing is she is supplementing with new materials because there's something new and great coming out all the time.
That's another conversation.
Yes, and we all want to get on board.
Right.
If it's good for students, we do.
That's right.
But then you have that first year teacher
Yep.
who gets that $500 and $600, and it doesn't go anywhere. It really doesn't. I would love to see a program where first year teachers had somehow were given more money to spend than a 25-year or 20-year veteran teacher because they need more.
That's good.
But I really have in the office, I've had to go before the deadline for submitting your classroom allocation money. I've had to go and say, listen, tomorrow is the deadline. Get your order in. So not all teachers are doing without. Believe me, veteran teachers have a lot of materials. But the younger teachers are the ones that are spending their own money. And as a principal, there was a program that I wanted for the school. I had no resources for it. I did not want to go to the PTA, and our PTA was very active at Euro Brown and subsidized so much of our resources. But I went to my husband, and I said, Jeff, I want this program, and I want it now because our children need it, and I need you to fund it. And he looked at me like I was crazy, and then he said, all right, write a check. So, you do, if you really want something for your students, it's just like when, I'll use a man for an example, when a man gets his mind set on a car or a truck that he wants, there is nothing that is going to hold him back.
Come see me at time.
He will find a way to get that truck or car.
No doubt.
I've seen this in my son that's 35. I've seen it in my husband. Well, we teachers are the same way.
Sure.
If there is something our children need in the classroom, we're going to find a way to get it.
Sure.
With technology being the gateway now that we have to be, $500-$600 doesn't do a whole lot with that.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
But you also get that school money, that entire school money.
Sure.
And we have fundraisers. You've got to be real crafty as far as fundraising because, you just won't believe what parents will buy, what students will buy, what grandparents will buy for their loved ones.
No doubt.
I mean, they love these children so much that they want to support their schools.
Yeah.
But you've got to reach out.
Yeah.
And it is time consuming. You have to, oh gosh, I have sat for hours when we did magazine sales and totaled up all those magazine sales. But you do what you have to do.
Yeah.
To get to the students what they enjoy and what they need.
Book fairs are good. Makes a lot of money.
Book fairs
Makes a lot
are
of money.
great. They are.
We've looked on the local level, and there are other avenues with that. You got a lot of teacher hopping, a lot of teachers retiring, a lot of teachers having to change grades, and so if you change grade levels, that's more money.
You're exactly
that's
right.
That's a whole other ballgame. But real quick, because I know everybody's on the time crunch, but critical race theory is something that is Jerry and I we're very much against.
Right.
And we believe it's indoctrinating in our kids to believe, white kids to believe that you're less than or you should feel sorry for how you were born. So speak to that, because I know that's
Right.
something
Yes.
big and near to you.
That was not an issue when I was in the classroom or in the principalship. I have 2 grandchildren, an 8-year-old grandson and a 5-year-old granddaughter. And they live in Montgomery, and they go to a private school, Trinity Presbyterian.
Great school.
It's a great school. I love that my grandson can quote me all the scripture
That's
that
awesome.
he's learned. I love that. Critical race theory, I believe, came out of some research that a lady did. I don't remember if it was in New Jersey or whatever. And then it was published and came on the scene as something that should be essential in education. No, I believe that equality is everything. I came from a very poor family. I don't say very poor, but I mean, we had very little. I was born to a 40-year-old mother and a 45-year-old father. It was their second family. And after I was born, 15 months later, I had a sister. So I had a 13-year-old brother and an 11-year-old sister. And of course, they were helpful. But it was a struggle for us. I mean, my dad worked at Republic Steel, and he was a farmer, and we were raised with a very strong work ethic. But we were raised to believe that there is no work that is above you. There is no one who is above you. There is no one who is under you. You are who you are. You were created by God, and you were created to make a mark in this world. I've always treated everyone the same. I think this critical race theory was brought about to make people maybe wonder, to put doubt in people's mind. There is no critical race theory, in my opinion. We are who we are. I mean, not only do we have African Americans, we have Hispanics, we have Vietnamese, we have all kinds of Americans. And in my opinion, no one's better than anybody else. Someone may have more wealth, but so be it. They may be dumb as a rock. In my opinion, you're
We've
esteemed.
met some of them.
We know some.
You're esteemed if you value education, if you're trying to learn something, or if you're teaching someone or a group every day. That's what makes me feel, or that's what puts you in high esteem to me. Has nothing about race, has nothing about what, about your views about this or that. I just think it was bunk.
Well, it was birthed out of a book called the 1619 Project.
Right.
And it is revisionist history. So what
Right.
it is, it's really her opinion, and
It
it's
was.
made up stuff. And we can't teach revisionist history, because history is history. It's fact.
Right.
This did happen, and we're seeing things not really in Alabama, but because we have a governor that chairs the
Right.
Board of Education, and she's our governor, and says you're not teaching that.
Right.
And, excuse, this is an uneducated word or phrase. You're not teaching that garbage here.
Right,
And
right.
so history's history.
Was that Latin?
Yes, it is. It's the Greek side.
Oh,
You know, that's how it is. So the Greek word's hogwash is what it is. And so we even have Baptist seminaries,
Right.
Nazarene seminaries, United Methodist seminaries are requiring their students to read that garbage. And it's made up.
Right.
So, and we have seen throughout the country school systems that are taking out things that were taught in history that you and I learned, that we all learned, and even here, I've talked to my kids. I have a junior, I have an 8th grader, and I have a 9th grader. We have a 5-year-old that's married and has a child. So we have that second family too.
Yes.
But things that Bailey learned at 25, or that I learned at, going on 50, they haven't been taught. And I'm thinking, well, why in the world? So I think it's important that we have somebody like you that goes to the State House and says, look, we're not going to teach that because it's not fact. It's not factual.
No, there was no evidence to back up what the lady was who wrote the book or wrote the article after the book. Right. Because I listened to a podcast from her. There was really no evidence to prove what she was writing. I have found in my 67 years of being on Earth, I finally discovered about 20 years ago that people will write or say anything to get attention.
That's right.
And never let facts get in the way.
That's right.
Yep.
And so, if you're not an educated person, then you'll believe whatever they're putting out there to get attention.
Yeah.
But that's why it's so important that we educate these children early on to know what propaganda is, to know the difference between fact and opinion. Because little children, unless they're taught, they view everything as fact if it's in a book.
No doubt.
Or if their teacher tells them, So early on, I taught my 2 children that no, not everything you're told is correct and not everything you read is. And my daughter took it to heart. She's an attorney. And, she has an opinion on everything. And speaks well about it. But no, she said from the get-go, this is an attention getter.
No doubt.
Is all that is.
It's like we have someone that's running for mayor of Gadsden that wants to move our statues.
No way.
You know I was going
This is true. I know.
No way.
Yeah.
That's true.
I had not read that. Oh boy, I'm going to do some research.
Please.
When I get home.
All of you do.
I'm going to
Please.
do some research when I get home.
I think it's important, even with that,
Yes.
doing research.
Right.
In order to separate fact from fiction,
Oh,
you
so
have to
do
do
I.
the research, right?
You
So
do.
when we wrote term papers, my kids couldn't believe. I'm a big reader. I
Right.
read everything I get my hands on. But we would sit down and we would have to go through the encyclopedia.
Britannica,
and,
baby.
Yeah, right. And my parents were good because every time there was an update, they would make sure we had it, so
Right.
we were informed. And
Right.
they couldn't believe it. Now they get to sit in front of Google, but the problem is, whatever algorithm they set, they want you to see, or what their propaganda that you
Correct.
use, it's there at the top of the list.
It is.
Where are kids going to click? What's in the first 5, right?
Sure.
they're going, what's on the first
Usually.
screen? That's what I'm going to click.
No doubt.
Yeah.
And so that's huge, and that's not something really you can control, but you can control it in the classroom.
Right. You definitely can.
Right. And there are things that mandates that can come down from the State Board of Education where you can say, okay, you're not using Google, you're going to use DuckDuckGo.
Right.
Because it's going to give you what you're really asking for without the propaganda. So I think that's important, that our kids don't just believe what they see or they hear, but they're taught the importance of doing the proper research themselves. And that comes probably later in later years.
And I also think it's important that teachers, I used to tell my students, okay, we've learned about this today. Now let's make this some dinner time talk. Go home, talk to your mom and dad about it, your grandmother about it, get their thoughts, and then we're going to talk about that tomorrow.
That's good.
I think that's the involvement is more people in your family or in your advocacy group, because sometimes we forget that aunt and uncles and neighbors. Oh boy, my neighborhood knows that I am the person to come to if they're selling anything or if they have trouble with anything in school, because I had a pandemic school when the pandemic hit. I first had it in my home, and then I moved it in September to my church. And it was great.
What church is that?
First Baptist Church of Gadsden.
Oh, yeah.
I asked Matt if I could have the Family Life Center. Without hesitation, he said yes. I recruited retired teachers I've got to tell you something that was really funny, though. And we had it from August the 4th. Our last day was September the 29th of that year. So a man was picking up his grandson and granddaughter. And he walked in and he said to me, there's something wrong with this situation. And I said, sir? And he said, yes, you've got all retired teachers teaching these little ones, and you're not afraid of COVID? And we said, no, sir.
Oh, wow.
We're not. And that's all he said.
Something right about that.
You know, to be fair, Matt, he was just hoping you had lunch every day.
Matt, you know you like that lunch, and it's okay. We do too, buddy.
Let me tell you, every once in a while I get that chicken he cooks. If he does it for a Wednesday night or for the church auction, he is a real cook.
Y'all have had great pastors in the history of that church.
We have.
We've been fortunate to know a lot of them.
Right.
One in particular, phenomenal at the largest growth spurt of your church, but I've never seen a pastor at First Baptist work as hard as the one you have now. He works so hard.
Does
He's
he?
involved in everything. Yeah.
His daughter is in my Sunday school class. Watsy, she's the only girl with 7 boys. And let me tell you, she keeps them well behaved. She calls the shots.
I bet. We have 2 minutes left. Tell the people out there, and is it District 6?
District 6.
Tell the people in District 6 in 2 minutes why they should vote for Priscilla Yother.
Okay. District 6, let me tell you, is a large district. It's made up of 8 counties: Etowah, Calhoun, St. Clair, Talladega, Blount, Cullman, Marshall, and Cherokee. I am running because I have always felt that really nobody knew or cared who represented them on the State Board of Education. So many times I've asked parents, they had no idea. I want to change that. If you will vote for me, I have a plan to visit all 172 schools in District 6 every year. That is, I would work voluntarily Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday of every week. And if I visit 3 to 4 schools in the same region every day, I can cover and visit with not only just administration, teachers, students in less than a school year, in around 175 to 80 days. When a system or a school is brought up at the state board, I want to be able to visualize that school, to visualize what is going on there. I don't see how a person can vote for something on their system if they don't know the people and know what's going on. I want to be able to do that. To my knowledge, that's never been done. I hope to be able to accomplish that when a person is asked in District 6, who represents you in Montgomery, they'll be able to say, Priscilla Yother, because she was just here last month. So I feel like, when I entertained this idea, this voice, or I had this feeling in my heart, and it was this statement: for this, I have prepared you.
Fantastic.
And that is what I'm going on. The days are long, the days are hard, but I have been prepared, and I have been prepared to serve you. And I hope that you will remember that when you go to the polls on May 24th.
Priscilla Yother, District 6, Alabama State Board of Education. Don't forget it. It's a very important race, and usually when that ballot is cast, it has the least amount of votes because they just pass over it.
They do.
You got to go in and you got to vote. And let me tell you something. I'm pretty impressed.
No question.
impressed.
No, we're excited. We'll have you back on.
Absolutely.
Thank
We
you.
don't. This isn't a show that we tell you who to vote for.
Nope.
No.
But today it is. Vote for Miss Yother.
That's right.
Vote Miss Yother. I promise you, that's who we need.
That's right. Stay close, stay clean, and treat each other the way God would have you do it. And I promise you, District 6 of the State Board of Education will be a whole lot better for it.